Blockchain and Bitcoin are not only technological innovations, but also phenomena with important philosophical, social, and political implications. The concept of digital heterotopia, introduced by Doncha Kavanagh and Gianluca Michione, describe the evolving relationship between the contemporary state and digital forms of money, particularly cryptocurrencies. Based on Michel Foucault's notion of heterotopia, blockchain is a digital space that operates according to rules different from those governing conventional political and financial institutions. States may be understood as relatively autonomous social systems that seek to preserve their internal order, but digital currencies increasingly challenge their traditional control over monetary systems. Cryptocurrencies such as Bitcoin tend to detach monetary exchange from state authority and therefore disturb established financial infrastructures. Bitcoin was conceived for an environment in which participants do not necessarily trust one another, with decentralization and the avoidance of central authority among its fundamental objectives. In this sense, blockchain can be interpreted as a heterotopic digital space in which conventional distinctions between center and periphery, inside and outside, or local and foreign are reconfigured. Like certain Foucauldian heterotopias, blockchain also allows an apparently unlimited accumulation of records over time. Digital technologies can be interpreted also as notational technologies based on Nelson Goodman's concept of notational systems. Such technologies create abstract representations or identities by reducing complex properties to formalized machine-readable forms that can subsequently be used to manage digital assets, physical goods, and even people. Computer codes therefore function as forms of writing, although an ontological distinction remains between human-readable symbolic systems and machine-oriented programming or binary code. Blockchain itself emerges from the asynchronous interaction of thousands of independent network nodes that follow relatively simple algorithmic rules while collectively performing complex financial operations. Bitcoin represents the most prominent application of this model as a peer-to-peer digital currency and payment system based on a distributed public ledger rather than a central server or administrator. Its network permits users to create addresses and submit transactions without prior authorization, while miners collectively validate transactions and compete to add new blocks to the blockchain. Nevertheless, Bitcoin's formal decentralization does not necessarily prevent tendencies toward practical centralization. Large mining pools can accumulate substantial computational influence, while early participants have benefited disproportionately, contributing to what has been described as a Bitcoin aristocracy. Bitcoin also carries a strong ideological dimension, particularly the aspiration to remove money from governmental and institutional control and to promote individual monetary sovereignty. Critics, however, associate parts of this ideology with libertarian, anti-central bank, or more radical anti-state political currents. Other researchers argue that Bitcoin cannot survive indefinitely without some form of governance, and emerging structures based on consensus already demonstrate that complete absence of governance is difficult to maintain. The concentration of mining power further creates the possibility that a sufficiently dominant group could undermine Bitcoin's decentralized character. From this perspective, some scholars characterize Bitcoin as an expression of distributed capitalism, in which decentralizing technologies coexist paradoxically with concentrated capital and increasingly centralized governance. In conclusion, Bitcoin should be understood not simply as a decentralized currency, but as a technological innovation whose philosophical and political significance lies in the tensions it creates between autonomy and governance, decentralization and concentration, and technological freedom and social control.